It is Throwback Thursday, and we are diving deep into our vast CBC archives. 21 years ago, the City of Vancouver bought the Woodward's department store from the province after years of it being abandoned. The plans for the building triggered widespread protests, with activists squatting it in the fall of 2002. They were calling for more social housing in the neighborhood.
It's being touted as the beginning of the revitalization of the Downtown Eastside. The old Woodward's building has got a new owner. This afternoon, the mayor of Vancouver announced the city will be buying the old department store from the province for $5.5 million.
The province will be giving us 100 housing units within the complex once it's built for deep core disabled seniors. We haven't quite worked out what that will be, but there'll be 100 units in there.
The old NDP government bought the abandoned Woodward's building for almost $22 million in early 2001. Factoring in some maintenance, upgrading, and loan costs, BC taxpayers are expected to foot a bill in the $20 million range now. The social housing units will be in addition to 200 market value suites, as well as retail and office space.
Woodward is crucial to the health and welfare of the Downtown Eastside. In addition to that, we believe that not only is it crucial to that, but we're trying to, along with the big corporation, to make the Olympic Games socially responsible.
Last fall, activists occupied the street outside the building for several weeks as they demanded it be converted entirely to social housing. Today, Jim Layton says the 100 units can be considered a small victory, but he's going to keep up the fight for more.
So there's lots of ways of finding, lots of means of funding 250 units, and our challenge to the government was to step up to the plate and be innovative and find those ways of funding that.
It will be up to developers and city staff to come up with an actual plan for the building. This past Friday, the city began looking for business partners. But one Vancouver developer is dubious, saying it's just too big a project for one company.
It may appeal to a much wider range of developers who would be able to come in and participate in a smaller amount of risk for a smaller amount of money and maybe try something there. I think that's a good idea to break it up. I think part of the problem has been that it's such a large investment. It's probably $80 to $100 million. And there's not too many people who are going to come down into this part of town and tackle something like that.
But Mayor Campbell disagrees. He says much interest has already been expressed on many fronts. And if the Woodward's building is developed, the Liberal government will be doing something two previous governments were unable to do. Deborah Goebel, CBC News, Vancouver.
Joining us now to look back on that historic building and how it's changed over the years is Clint Burnham. He is a professor of English literature at SFU. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Sure. The city's moved to buy Woodward's, and perhaps I certainly was shocked at $5.5 million that they bought it for. It's not the reality today. Create 100 social housing units was being touted as a revitalization of the Downtown Eastside. How do you think that claim holds up today?
Well, revitalization, we know it means gentrification or dispossession or displacement. Within a 2-year period from 2010, when the Woodward's opened, to 2012, 400 low-income units in the neighborhood were removed from that kind of housing. 8 hotels shifted over to charging more rent. So that resulted in actually 300 fewer low-income housing units in a 1-block radius of Woodward's. So revitalization or displacement, I don't know, take your pick.
Now, the building itself is now, as we've seen, and we see it every night in some of our cameras, mixed-use building. It has housing, restaurants, office space, as well as a university. It's also considered a cause of gentrification, as you mentioned. How accurate do you think that is, particularly given the other amenities that have come in?
Well, so there's a grocery store there, but it's a Nestor's, and residents in the neighborhood want a no-frills, to have a more affordable kind of grocery store. And so that's an indication of the kinds of commercial opportunities that come into a neighborhood when it's becoming more upscale, the kind of coffee shops along that strip. There's 4 little gyms and spin classes and all this kind of thing in that 1 block of Hastings. So it's certainly catering to a different population than who have traditionally lived in the neighborhood.
Do you think it was realistic at the time to have it fully social housing rather than those other components? Could they have done that?
It's a difficult question. I mean, some of it has to do with political will. I mean, the developer in the clip said we don't see how we could do it. West Bank did go in and do it, and they're doing more development in the neighborhood as well. Not always to what residents want. I guess it depends on what we mean by realistic. Can we dare to think there can be a community that is affordable for people who live there in a long time, doesn't force them out by having upscale furniture shops and so on, places where they don't feel welcome, but also caters to other residents? I think we can, and I think residents want that as well.
What would you say is the biggest takeaway from what happened with the Woodward's building from the time it closed as a department store to now?
Well, I mean, what's replaced it or what's continued is that continuing displacement. I mean, we've seen street sweeps for the past couple of years going into the previous city administration of people who are camped out on sidewalks and so on. Treating, I don't know, I don't think it's too much to say treating Hastings Street like another kind of Gaza Strip in a certain kind of way. Just go in and push people out. Is that what we
really want? There may be people
want?
who may dispute that
For sure,
comparison, but
yeah. I mean, the term we use to talk about this kind of displacement is like settler colonial capitalism, right? That real estate, housing has an economic value, and if you don't have the money for that, to pay for that economic value, then you're out of luck.
Clint Burnham, we appreciate your time and your perspective. Thanks very much for joining us.
Great, thanks.